going and transpiring?
Well, this was excruciating because hopefully, in our collective opinion, Jeffrey would have been found not guilty of everything. So this is very painful. But that's another 3 months or so in custody. And he wants to go home to his family. And negotiations totally broke down with the district attorney's office. Horribly broke down. And at that point, we believe that justice would be found with the honorable court. And Jeffrey just wanted to go home. How agonizing it is to know that we've spent a year trying a case where the prosecutors have put on lies, knowing lies, hiding evidence, is insane in 2024 in the United States of America. And the only reason that this got revealed is because of you people. You people brought the truth to the community because nobody knows this. This is not the only courtroom it's happening in, and I just want to thank all of you. I especially want to thank Jeffrey for letting me represent him. I think he's a wonderful person who does wonderful things and will continue to do things even greater. I cannot express to you how Shaquille Kokomo, how Trisha Renard, how Haley, how my wife Colette, how Bram, how countless people, but especially Miss Courtney Edwards, has worked without sleep for 3 years representing Jeffrey and helping him. I will never be able to stand with anyone more ethical, honest, hardworking, insightful, intelligent, and kind than the Honorable Keith Adams. The gentleman to my left is the best lawyer in the country.
Mr. Shields, do you think prosecutors negotiated in good faith at all during any of these negotiations?
Why don't you let me take this one? Let me answer that. The short answer is no. This is a case that possibly could have been resolved if folks were reasonable. But we did not believe that we could enter into good faith negotiations with people who wanted a case resolved in a manner simply to save face. And Jeffrey Williams was not going to say things that they wrote for him, that they wanted him to say, that was their theory when it wasn't true. And so, good faith, no. I don't believe we were ever really negotiating in good faith. And you've been here the past year that this case has been on trial. You've seen the numerous motions for mistrial. You've seen the behavior of the state. You've seen the dishonesty. You've seen everything being hidden. You've seen things come out in court, in front of you. And so you know what kind of prosecution we were dealing with, and that's okay. You know, Mr. Steele and I have fought through this the past 2.5 years. And as he said, we ultimately decided we were going to put our faith in the court as opposed to the folks on the other side of the aisle. And, you know, the best thing out of all of this is that Jeffrey Williams, in a very short period of time, will be home. And that's all we've wanted from May 9th, when they went and picked him up and have held him in jail without a bond for the past 2.5 years. He'll be home shortly.
Keith and Brian, this either one of you can answer. I have 2 questions for you. First off, you go into a blind plea, you don't know, right? There's nothing for sure. What was your emotions like when you guys went into that? I would imagine the conversation, can you kind of take us into the room before you went out into court, what the conversations were back and forth? Obviously, I know there's attorney-client privilege, but it's a big decision.
Well, I didn't want to give up the jury trial, but that was a decision made, and once that decision was made, we were just thankful that there are people like the Honorable Judge Whitaker who understands what a trial is like and what it should be like. And I cannot thank the Honorable Court for being here and coming in. She is not our first judge, but she's the first time we received justice.
Mr. Adams, this is your second high-profile RICO case here in Fulton County. Do you think that maybe the prosecutor's office is abusing that statute? And what are your opinions of RICO generally?
I have, for the 30 some odd years that I've practiced law, always believed that if you, as a prosecutor, think that someone has committed a crime, you charge them with the crime, you put it in front of a jury, and then you do it fairly and let the chips fall where they may. The courtroom is not the place to get adventurous, to get inventive, to think, well, we don't have evidence on him for any of these incidents, but maybe, if just maybe, we tie him up in a RICO and put him with people who may have committed crimes, we can get him that way. That's an abuse. And so, yes, for some strange reason, the Fulton County DA's office seems to be in love with RICO, and my honest opinion is that they're in love with it because it makes it easier for them to try and convict people that they otherwise could not convict. And that's what was happening here. We're fighting a mountain, reams of evidence, most of which didn't have anything to do with us. And so, is it an abuse? I think it is. There are better ways to, and I used to be a prosecutor, right? And I can tell you that there are better ways to prosecute cases than the way this case was prosecuted.
You guys obviously rejected initially what the state was going to offer. Is there some details you can give us? Because it sounds like from what you guys decided in court, I mean, it's still pretty stringent. There's a lot of different details, but what was the state asking for that you guys rejected?
I'm not going to get into plea negotiations because they are privileged under statute, but it was outrageous. They would let him out of custody, but they would have a tether around him so tight that it's unconscionable.
And how are y'all feeling about what the sentencing is, especially with not being able to be in Metro Atlanta except for specific parameters, and how is Mr. Williams feeling about that decision?
You know, we're okay with the sentence. There comes a time in any case, if a person is sentenced, that we're out of the courtroom, and now what happens to that person is entirely up to them. Jeffrey Williams is a fantastically talented man. He is a great person. He's become a great friend over the course of the last couple of years. And he has the ability, the incentive to go forth and do everything he needs to do to put this behind him. And we're confident that he will. One of the questions you asked a little earlier was, what was that feeling like, stepping into a courtroom to do what's called a blind plea, not knowing what's going to happen? You know, it's a scary feeling for all involved. There's probably no feeling quite like that other than sitting in a courtroom waiting for a jury to come out and tell you what your fate is. But we walked in there knowing that we were in front of a fair tribunal and being comfortable that the right thing was going to happen, and the right thing did.
What do you think about your client just serving as a role model? Obviously, as part of the agreement, he's going to be participating in the community, doing events, things like that. Obviously, he has a huge reach for what he does for a living.
I've known Jeffrey Williams. I've defended him for over a decade. I have been with him where we go to young children, children in need, children who are going down the wrong way. And he tells exactly what he's going to continue to say. He tells everybody, this is not a good life. We have to stop the generational disaster that is plaguing the community. And although right now I'm successful, I'm a product, but every one of you can get out. And he always stresses education. Jeffrey Williams is a great person, a great role model, and he will do even better now, hopefully, if you allow him and his words to get out. As far as how Jeffrey's feeling now, he knows my feelings, which I'm not going to reveal for attorney-client privilege, but this is not the same as the not guilty verdict. That should have been rang. But nobody here wakes up every day on a concrete floor that they're calling his bed, gets up at 4:15, gets shackled at his feet, his waist, and his hands, comes to the Fulton County Courthouse to be on concrete, eating out of a bag. Doritos is his meal of choice. And then coming to a courtroom and sit there with a leg chain on him every single day and hear lie after lie. So for Jeffrey, go home today and not have another 90 days or 120 days of it, he is very happy, thankful to the Honorable Court. So to answer your question, this was not what I wanted. I don't believe that it is just, but I believe that under these circumstances, it is justice for Jeffrey Williams, and he is delighted, as are we, and thankful.
Can I ask you, you were standing right next to him as he was addressing the judge. What seemed like a very sincere apology to her, or apology to the court and what happened, what has gone on. How did you feel standing next to him, knowing him for the last decade as an attorney for him, about what he was saying and what he was telling the judge?
Jeffrey Williams is being truthful. That is his heartfelt feelings. He feels so bad for the loss of life, and he feels bad that people are taking his music or his social postings and making it into violence. That is all promotion. That is not a symbol of go hurt somebody. So I hope I've answered your question directly, but how I felt, I've heard that from Jeffrey over and over again.
You called out a lot of challenges in this trial based on the prosecution's points. Do you have any message to, the co-counsel that for now is still on trial, or what's left of this?
Oh my God, they are phenomenal lawyers, and I'm confident if you keep going, which I assume you will see some great lawyering. They don't need my help.
And the truth is, they've been there with us for the past 2.5 years. They're aware of what they're up against. They are totally capable of handling it, and I presume we'll step in from time to time because, in this fight in the past 2.5 years, we've been together. So we needed something, they've been there to assist, and if they need something, we're happy to step right back in and assist. But they're great lawyers. Max Shard, Doug Weinstein, those gentlemen are in great hands. They'll be fine.
I will say this, I think it is wrong, and it needs to be fixed, that an innocent man is arrested on May 9th of 2022, is denied bond, and has to plead guilty and nolo to get freedom after 2.5 years in custody. That should not happen. Nobody should be on trial. Jurors, think about what they're going through. Nobody should be on trial like this. And if Mr. Williams didn't have the resources, this never happens well for anybody. So I think it's an abuse, to answer the AJC's question. I think it's an abuse of the statute of RICO to do this to people.
Is it fair to say you don't believe justice was served today?
I believe that Mr. Williams is home, and I'm delighted. Justice would have been served on May 8th of 2022 if the grand jury no-billed his indictment. That would have been just. And it's wrong to be under investigation. He's been under investigation for 15 years. 15 years by task force of federal government and local government. Think about that. Think about your children doing that. And that's okay. If it's okay with you all, then we should really start moving to another country. I want to thank everybody so much for everything you do. I cannot thank you all, because without you guys, this just keeps rolling in injustice. It's got to end. The criminal justice system, the presumption of innocence, the Brady rules, the ethical rules, they have to survive. Otherwise, we all are victims of this. Anyone can sit in that seat next to Keith Adams. Thank you all so much.
And no one sees it unless you guys do what you do. But I tell you what, there is a whole world of people out there who have watched this trial over the course of the past 2.5 years. The past year that we've actually been in the courtroom trying the case, who are much more educated to how things work, and unfortunately, sometimes how things don't work. Thank you guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Right.
Chef Steele.
I think everybody's set up. Yeah, so if you just, what were your thoughts when you heard that your son was going to take a plea?
Well, I was kind of startled behind it, because I was in agreement with Brian and Keith. Let's keep fighting. You know what I'm saying? Let's make them continue to embarrass themselves. But at the same token, my son is I've never tried to interfere with his decisions. I just try to give him the knowledge of making the best decision that he sees fit for him. And I support it.
And so what was it like?
That he's going home?
I feel great that he's going home. I feel great that he's going home, but at the same token, I still wanted to fight. But that's his decision. That's his decision. You know, on the other hand, I raised him to be the man that he is. You know, I've always been in his life from a pup to now. And I'm gonna continue to be in his life. You know, and as an adult, he has to make his own decisions.
And
You know?
do you live here in Metro Atlanta?
Yes, I do.
So how does it feel to hear that he's not allowed to be in Metro Atlanta?
I'm totally against that because this is where he's from, you know, and to have a district attorney take that away from him that isn't a resident from here. She's from another state, you know, and to see her take a man away from where he's from to have to go live somewhere else, that's offensive to me. I'm really offended by it.
Can you talk
You
about,
understand?
sorry, I thought you were done. I was just saying, can you talk about your bond through music? And part of his conditions is that he can still make music, still do some performances. I know you said you were hoping to get back to that with him.
Yeah, we're going to get back to work. You know what I'm saying? You know, we're YSL loaded. I'm YSL loaded. You know, and in order for us to get back to our normal life, we're going to have to put in some more work. We're going to have to put in a lot of work, but the work that we need to do foremost for the city of Atlanta, Fulton County, we need to get rid of the poison that's in our system, and that's the district attorney office. So both Courtney Kramer. So Courtney Kramer, I support Courtney Kramer to the fullest. I feel like she's the best person for the job, and it's not because of what she said about us, it's because she said that and she was in my company and never knew who I was.
Absolutely true.
What are your thoughts on his art being used against him?
Not just the art, freedom of speech. Let's talk about his rights. We freedom of speech, man. You know, how can you take a person's freedom of speech and say, now we're gonna tell you how you need to talk or how you supposed to talk? You know, who would feel comfortable with? Would any of us out here right now feel comfortable with someone telling us, you confirmed from saying this? You can't say that? You know, what do the Constitution play a role at? You know, these young men, all of these young men, and some of us too, all of our rights are being violated right now because we're being dictated to on how we supposed to live, how we supposed to look, what we supposed to say. You know, we have a Constitution. When are we gonna start acknowledging our Constitution? You know, we did away with, supposedly, we did away with communism. I can't tell. You know, we took down a statue. We tore up a flag. What about the laws? Let's change the laws too. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna do away with it, let's do away with all of it. Change the law. We're in a new day and time. Let's make the laws for the new day and time.
Do you think his lyrics would change now?
I hope not. I wouldn't. But you know, he's behind the 8 ball right now. So we're gonna have to justify something. We're gonna have to make some justification on how we got the narrated now. You know, and that's sad. That's sad that a man should have to do that, and that's his way of life. That's how he feeds himself. That's how he feeds his family. That's his job.
And how
Are
are
you
y'all?
going to be in Wright Street right now?
Huh?
Yes.
Be in Wright Street?
Definitely.
So we thank you guys. We do gotta head to Wright Street.
One more quick
Go
question.
ahead.
Any words that you want to wish to anybody else remaining on the case? Anything you want to say to them?
Yeah, I definitely want to say something to the people that's left on this case, along with the people who are waiting to be charged. Keep your heads up, keep fighting. Sooner or later, somebody gonna have to make a decision. We need to start making the people accountable that makes the decisions for us. So we need to put the right people in office. We need to start scanning the people that we vote for.
And now that we have voting right now, It needs to be a presidential topic. It needs to be a topic about prison and reform. Why, the presidents are not discussing this during their debates. It needs to be at the forefront of the presidential debates at this time. So.
But the people got to make that
Yeah,
decision.
we got to make that.
And I'm going to leave y'all with this. In any fight you go through in life, and anything that you have to deal with in life, you can't be scared. You can't be scared. And I'm out of here.
What areas the public will continue to support Jeffrey and the entire family from this point moving forward?
In the words of John Lewis.
Get to your kids,
Fight.
get to your grandkids, support them, tell them you love them, hug them, and just be there. And just be there.
And if you see something
Because that's
wrong
what we
and you
need.
see something that's not just, say
what we
something.
need.
Get in good trouble. In the words of John Lewis, say something.
Yeah.
Don't just sit there and let it happen if it's not your family. Don't wait till it's your family. If you see his family, anybody else's family, like the other guys that are still here, don't just stop coming because Thug is out. There's still other guys fighting for their lives. Still come, still support the others that are still here. Because we will. So we thank you guys.
So I will be informing you all later on the extortment that came to me from the DA office. I was extorted.
You were extorted?
I was extorted by